I started thinking the other day, what if we're in some of the best times of our life right now and we don't really realize it? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of negative stuff going on in the world right now, whether it's financially, politically. There's a lot of negative things to talk about. We could probably go on and on about it for a long time. But I started thinking, what if we are like in some of the best times of our life and we really don't realize it? Back in our grandparents and their parents' days, there was World War I, World War II, there was Korea, Vietnam, even our fathers, there was Desert Storm, even recently, the war in Iraq. It's we there hasn't been really like, besides maybe like the war in Iraq and everything like that, there really hasn't been like negative stuff like that to where it will impact our life greatly, like a war. Like World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, you know, people didn't really have a choice. You were drafted to go to war, you didn't really have an option. It's good to fight for your country, it's good to fight for the land that you love, support your family. They had no choice, they had to go do it, and they had to work from, like, let's say you were born in, like, the 20s or something like that, or even before that. They had to work when they were, like, super young, like, maybe, like, 12 years old. They had to work super hard. That's why when you see kinda old pictures of people, like your grandparents, when they were, like, 18, they look like they're 25. Like, they aged drastically because there was just so much more chaos and so much more stress that they had to deal with that we just really don't have to deal with. Now we have stress, but stress like that wasn't really isn't really going on right now like that. At least not, like, to that extent where there's wars going on and everything like that. And my point to this video is, what if, like, the only things that we really have to worry about are just stupid things that we think are such a big deal, but maybe they're just not. There's just so many things that we could be upset about and things that do upset us. And what if these times, maybe what if it gets so bad in the next 10, 15 years that we'll think back on these days today and think, man, those were the good old days. Those were the good old days when we just had to, when we didn't, we could actually like live our lives. And yeah, money was tight. It was depressing. There was a lot of things to be depressed about, but what if we're living in these good times right now and we just can't see through it? And like, I'll remember times in high school where like I just thought, man, this is just terrible. I hate these times. There was good times in high school, and I'll probably make a video about that, but just like times of high school. But like, I look back on it 20 years later and I just think of the good times of high school and not the bad. And I feel like a lot of people do that in life where they'll remember, like, they'll be going through years and they'll remember, like, they kind of think hard about it and be like, man, that year was rough, but you only remember the good times of that year and the good times. So, what if the times right now are the best times right now? Where, because anything could happen in a split second, just like that. God forbid, nuclear war comes into play, a war, somebody tries to attack the United States, where I'm from anyway. Uh, and just think about what could happen after that. Like, the whole world changes after that. I don't know if there'll be a draft or not, because I know that they are saying that the people enlisting into service is very low. So I don't know if that will be a case or not, um but just think about, in a split second the whole world can change, and what seems kind of negative and bad now, and it is bad, but it could be a lot worse. Let's just be clear about that. It could be a lot worse. Wars could break out. just anything could happen. Anything negative that's worse than that's going on right now. We may think that the whole world right now is just so bad, and obviously things are going on bad, but here in the United States, like, we have our issues and we have our little things that make us mad, obviously, depending on like what things maybe trigger you a little bit more than others. But um what if we look back on these days and be like, man, if that was the only thing I had to worry about, we had it pretty made. We had it pretty made. There wasn't, besides like, like things in politics or financial things, not being able to buy a house, like people not being able to find a house, or like young people not being able to find like dates, or whatever the case may be. Like what we think is like the worst thing possible could be so much more worse. And because of the doom and gloom kind of things right now, I just think that we're just in a bad headspace right now, and we can get out of it. That's for sure. We could just put our mind to it and be strong about it. I think we all could start thinking a little bit more positive about things. And it's hard. Like I said, times are rough. The last couple years have been financially like the roughest times financially of my life. My wife and I are making more money than ever, and it's still hard. It's still so hard, especially when you have like 3 kids and everything else, a house. It's hard. But then I start thinking to myself, man, it could be so much worse. It could be worse. And you kind of have to think about that stuff. I know it's cliche to think that. People keep always saying that, think on the bright side. People have it worse than others. So, and you just be like, whatever, and just kind of go back to being sad or in your doom and gloom phase. But it's true. It's so true. In a split second, things can happen. People in Israel didn't see what happened on October 7th. Happened in the blink of an eye. September 11th happened in a blink of an eye. Pearl Harbor happened in a blink of an eye. There were like little things that happened, obviously, that led up to it, where people kind of, like 9/11, there were a lot of things that happened where there was kind of hints of what was going to happen. So people did kind of know what was going on, but think about that morning. That morning was so typical and so normal. And then in a split second, the whole world changed. The whole United States changed. And then we went to war. It's just anything can happen. Tomorrow we can get bombed. We can get bombed. And then we got bigger things to worry about than what makes us mad politically, what job we can't get or that we're not happy with, or what bill that we can't pay at this moment. So obviously don't brush anything to the side, financially or anything like that. I think my whole point of this video is it could be a lot worse, guys. It could be a whole lot worse. And I think we got to get out of this headspace that we're in a little bit. Like I said, to the last couple of days, I've just had a bad day. I just have not been right in the head, just thinking, just how tough it is out there. And I just think it could be so much worse. So you have to be a little bit grateful for things in life. So, but yeah, I just wanted to make this video. Maybe I'll encourage, hopefully, some people, to just kind of think a little bit brighter, with things. Who knows? How like there's videos on the internet now of videos of nostalgia, where it's videos from the 90s, early 2000s of like people shopping in Walmart or the mall or something like that. What if like 20 years from now, 25 years from now, we'll think back on 2025 and be like, man, those were the good old days right there. Like, it could be so much worse. With AI taking over, rumors of wars, it could be like, we don't know what the next couple years are gonna happen, and we could be thinking, man, this little phone the phone in our hands right now could be just the little thing that will like technology will advance so much in 25 years that we'll look back on this little iPhone and be like, man, like that was nothing compared to this. Like that was actually simple life. Like it might get to the point where I was thinking about this like today or whatever. Like it could be to the point where how like like you just add somebody like on social media or something like that. Like I said, I'm just thinking crazy, but it could be to the point where like you just see somebody like on the street and you meet them or whatever, and it's like you like say like, hey, can I add you on social media? Like you don't even have to like tell them the thing. You could just like scan their face or something like that and their social media pops up. Like creepy stuff like that. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying like technology is advancing fast. And we could just be thinking like this today was simple compared to how it will be 25 years from now when robots are like out on the street driving us around, God forbid, and making our food at restaurants and delivering our Amazon packages. So think of these days as the best days of your life rather than the bad days. Hopefully that encourages you.